Okay, so now that we're getting close to the end of the year and the end of the semester, I'm also about to graduate. I figured I wanted to do this video because I think it's really important for me to have like not only turn in this assignment, but also to reflect on everything I wrote too, because there could be some additional things I want to add in the future, right? So this assignment is dedicated on reflecting on my future goals, academic goals, whatever they may be, and they're going to be broken down into 4 steps. Step 1 is what are my current goals and educational goals? Step 2 are what changes, resources are needed to support and achieve my goals? Step 3, what are the next specific steps that you need to take and what needs to be done to achieve your career and or educational goals? And step 4, what steps would you take next to implement your plan? Okay, sorry. I know I'm reading literally from the screen right now. So step 1 are my career and academic goals. So my current goal right now is to take a gap year before I attend graduate school. On the top of the list of my year off, I want to get a car. That would be super helpful. Then the next thing within that year is I want to attend community college so I can delay my student loans and I can also finish my associates in graphic design. So it's like a win-win, you know? I also want to participate in Chris J's 1-year research program. So even though I'm not going to be a Sac State student anymore, I can hopefully still manage to use those resources. And that would be really helpful for me because I can also publish another article. While attending community college and finishing my graphic design classes, I also want to take a film class here and there so I can start getting more and more skills, since I think film is imperative for me and my way that I want to conduct my dissertation in the future. Within the year off, I also want to travel both business and casual. I think it's important for me to start in-person networking with people, especially if I plan to attend graduate school. So I think it would be really cool to look at campuses, network with the departments that I wish to work for. I mean, wish to, apply for in the future. I never really got the chance to look on campuses because, of COVID and everything. So it'd just be nice to actually start meeting people in the future. And then the top of the cherry of the year off is I want to reapply to graduate school. So this handful of schools that I hope to apply for are UC Berkeley, UC San Diego, UC Davis, Riverside, UCLA, Stanford, San Diego State, Cal State LA, and San Jose State. What I plan to do with graduate school is I plan on getting a degree in either ethnic studies. If some of the schools are going to be master's programs, so they'll either be in ethnic studies or Latinx history or Chicano history. It just depends on the school. And then from that master's, applying for a PhD again. And I think it's really important for me to have this career path because ethnic studies is something that I plan on doing as an aspiring professor in the future. So when obtaining my career and academic goals, there could be challenges that are mainly financial, but having this year off, it can allow me to work full-time, especially since my community college classes are all going to be online. And I've talked to the professor there who happens to be the chair of the department. He's also going to be very supportive. So I'm mainly taking a lot of classes with him. So there's going to be a lot of flexibility there, especially since they're online. So this will give me more of an opportunity to work full time. And moving forward from there, a challenge that I can also see in the future is, since I'm going to be doing a new research study, that can also be a little overwhelming as I'm also applying to graduate school. But the opportunity that I have is, since I'm going to have amazing faculty members from my Department of Ethnic Studies, it's going to be a lot easier to apply to graduate school, especially since I've already applied to a handful of these schools already. So having faculty look at my documents and revisiting them, tailoring them up, it's not starting from scratch. It's going to be a lot easier rather than starting from scratch. That's why I think it's going to be not as overwhelming as it was last year when I was doing everything from scratch. Okay, so step 2 are changes and resources. A big step that a big change that I'm already doing for the future is I've already applied to a handful of these schools, so the work is already there. It's just having to edit them to kind of, you know, perfect them, having another perspective. And a change that was before is when I applied to graduate school, I did it by myself. I got some help on how to apply to graduate school and like what to look for, and I also got help in the writing center for grammar. But when it came to actually applying to the schools and everything, answering the questions, I did them all by myself. And I think that was a major flaw that I did last year. I think it was mainly because of time, that I didn't really have time to get an input from another professor and hear their opinions on my application. But since now that all that hard work is already done and I'm going to be applying to a couple of other schools, it's not going to be as difficult. And this time I can also ask for help from a handful of professors rather than just asking one person. I feel like if I break down the schools and divide them by each professor, so if I have 3 professors or 4 professors, I can, and I'm applying to 9 schools or 10, I can have like 2 or 3 each professor, and they help me review all those documents. And I think that would be very helpful and a bit major change. One of my reflecting back, one of my struggles was asking for help. I didn't really know that there was people out there who actually wanted to see me succeed. I know that's kind of a cheesy thing, but there are people who want to see me succeed, and they've already went through the process of applying to graduate school and going through my graduate school and graduating with a PhD. So actually having the moment to getting to know the new faculty members at my department and seeing how they view me, I think it was just a very big, major support, and made me feel less isolated, knowing that, wow, you know, seeing my faculty members in person really made a big difference rather than doing everything on Zoom, which can feel very isolating. But I know that's not the case anymore now that things are opening up and everything. It just, I can actually see my resources that are available to me. So for my action plan, in order to, you know, my big major goal is to take a year off and having a lot of little goals in between them. I think I decided to break down my action plan, my year off, which was the first thing is I need to speak to my mentor and make a guided plan on how to apply to graduate school. So if each month I'm supposed to be doing something, that would help. And then send out my graduate school documents to the faculty at Sac State. I know there's going to be a summer break. I want to take the summer break too. It's been a very long year. So I just want to speak to my mentor first, so then I can explain this plan to the faculty members that want to support me, and then they're in the loop and know what's going on. So this gives everybody enough time to look into my work and not feel overwhelmed that they have to get this done in a week, you know, because the application is due in a week. I want to do everything ahead of time. The second thing is I want to begin to apply to jobs after I graduate. I don't want to worry about that right now. I want to focus on finals and then walking the stage. And then after that, starting to apply to work. I know it's a process to apply, especially if it's were to be a state job or anything like that. I know it takes time, but since I currently have a job, I will be working at that place until I wait until I start this process of applying to an actual career. I also mentioned that I do have a relationship with someone in the Career Center. It's like a networking, and I know she's very supportive and she can help me when it comes to the job application process. She's already helped me how to write a cover letter and a resume, and she tailored down my CV with me. So now it's actually starting to look for work. And I know I'm going to be using that resource once I graduate. The third step would be obviously continue to work. I want to take it easy this last week of school, and then after that I want to start working. So I want to make sure that my work schedule doesn't intertwine with me in my job application process. Since I also have made another networking with a financial advisor, she can teach me, she can guide me on how to be resourceful with my money. And in return, I also help her apply to graduate school because I've already have this experience. I mean, I don't have like all the wisdom in the world, but I did apply to 9 schools. So I guess that's some sort of like step up in comparison to her, that she doesn't have any like idea of how to apply. So I think, that networking, if she helps me how to financially manage myself and I help her with graduate school, it's such a good like combo for us. And she can also help me get a plan when it comes to saving my car and starting some savings. And one of those steps is just like a very minor change, but since I work at Togo's a food industry, I do make tips. So all of the tips that I make, I plan to put them in my savings just to start getting the habit. And then the 4th step is I also want to speak with my mentor to make a guided plan on my application process. I think that's kind of, oh yeah, that's literally the copy and paste of the 1st step. Whoops, let's skip that. So for my action plan, this is continued since there are specific questions I have to answer for class. So what's going to happen if I don't follow through, or if there's like, a fallback? And there's always needing to be a backup to a backup. So one of those backups is like, I'm applying to work. That doesn't mean I'm going to stop working. I'll continue working a minimum wage job, and that's a backup until I can find a high paying job. That's my plan for now. Another thing is I know that over time I'm going to get overwhelmed applying to graduate school. So then that means I have to pick and choose, in the worst comes to it, picking and choosing between the schools. Especially since this year around, I have to apply. When I'm applying, I have to pay out of pocket. So I'm obviously these graduate schools are going to add up in cost. So I'm going to have to make these decisions of which school to apply to. But I feel like a good backup to that is, since I've already applied to Berkeley, Cal State LA, UC San Diego, I don't need to do any of that work from scratch. So hopefully that gives me a step up into applying to other schools and not feeling as overwhelmed. So attending community college, like if there's a downfall for that, since everything's online, I feel like it wouldn't be too difficult for me to complete all the assignments and work, especially since I already know the graphic design, like I know this program, I know the faculty, and I know their styles of teaching. So I don't think it should be too difficult for me to communicate with them and let them know, hey, I'm applying to graduate school. Can I get an extension? Or I got this done ahead of time, or this is what I can complete before the assignment is due. Can I get some feedback? It's just the communication is a key point to this. So the other like backup thing is getting a car is always my priority list on top of everything. No matter how much I say I want to apply to graduate school, getting a car is very essential. If I, for some reason, cannot manage to get a car because, of credit, or, I don't have enough money saved, my backup to that is buying a car secondhand from a family member. That's a good major step up. And the reasoning behind getting a car is because, I want to visit all these schools, and I want to be able to do local community service in San Diego. So it's essential to get a car. So, it doesn't matter what kind of vehicle I'm driving, as long as it's sustainable and reliable. So the next steps is for step 4. My next step is to break down my graduate school application process. So each month, if I have to, since I said I'm going to take the summer off, I think the only work I would do for the summer is researching the schools, their programs, and then writing down their deadlines and everything like that. But usually they don't start posting all of this stuff until August. So that's probably an August step, is doing all of this work. And then if each month I have to do something, like in August, do research on the schools, in September, start applying, do your personal statement for all schools, like breaking down the work like that. So then I can submit them ahead of time, because, graduate schools do look at this. They look at every little thing. Did you submit it the day of, or like last minute, or a couple days before? I want to make sure I submit it like at least 2 weeks prior to the application deadline, just in case there's like, you know, the website crashes or something like that. Things like this does happen. So I want to make sure I break down my graduate school application process so I can feel less overwhelmed. I have to do the same thing with my research, but seeing how the Chris program runs their research program, I don't think it'd be too difficult to manage it because they do break down the work by a lot. So I'm not going to feel overwhelmed with the clashing or time management, because there will be a lot of flexibility with my research. And the next step is networking is very essential. So I need to start introducing myself, asking faculty members if they're going to be taking any apprentices or graduate students in the future. So it just starts to put my name out there. I didn't do that last year. I definitely plan on doing that this year. Another step is, I know saving money is not easy, especially since, you know, this is the first time where, you know, I don't have to stress so much about a lot of things anymore, especially like paying classes. So I know I'm going to want to like go out and spend my money, but if I have a high paying job, it's going to be a lot easier to save money. And, you know, gas is really expensive. So that's kind of where all my money's going right now. But if I have a high paying job in the future, whatever that may be, I know saving will be a lot easier for me. And the next step, which is a huge, huge step, is I know it's not easy for me to ask for help. It's a huge, like, prideful thing. It's a cultural thing. But I need to start breaking down these stigmas in order to help myself. And I know asking faculty and members of ethnic studies will be a huge major step for me, because everyone's here to guide me. Applying for a PhD and getting a PhD is not a one person thing. It's a community thing. There's a lot of wisdom and knowledge and experiences from other people who are more than willing to share their path, and they can offer me advice that can make things a lot easier for me. So kind of summarizing and reflecting this whole like project, why did I choose my career or educational goals? So one of the main things about me is, you know, I grew up in poverty. That's all I've ever known. All I've ever known was struggle. So, you know, when I would see like my family members come back from their blue collar jobs, they would be very overwhelmed and stressed out with financial hardships, especially since of their, you know, status as immigrants. So they would always look at me and say, you know, school's the only way that you're going to be able to get out of this kind of living lifestyle. And, you know, ethnic studies is kind of based off on, you know, community. It's based off on people coming together to making a difference and voicing the history and cultural practices of ethnic people, of people of color. So I think that's what kind of drove me into ethnic studies, is knowing that I found like my community within the ethnic studies department, and, you know, the history behind it. It's so enriching, especially since I grew up in this kind of culture where, you know, school is essential to my future. I think that's where picking ethnic studies was just it made sense to me. I also decided to pick ethnic studies. It's not only because of the history, the culture, and the community. I also picked this because I knew that there was a lot of personal connection to it. And as my career, I do plan on obtaining a PhD, because I do think that obtaining a PhD is essential for me. It also, like, you know, kind of beats the percentage of women who obtain PhDs, you know, especially as a Chicana Latina. So that's kind of like, you know, increasing that within the US Census. But I also think it's really important for my community to have more people in these positions, especially as representation has always been a huge important thing. I can inspire other people, I can voice other people, and I can use my position of power to give back to the community as a aspiring professor. Why did you incorporate skills, knowledge obtained from this course? Okay, So many of the lessons that I learned from class, I've been able to implement in my major and as my career as well, because every PowerPoint lesson, um, class presentation, or research article, textbook that I had to read in this class, it affects me in a personal level, because as an ethnic studies major and I want to do this beyond undergraduate, it just helps me to know, the history of ethnic studies and the reasoning behind ethnic studies. What did you learn from this assignment? So this assignment helped me break down my graduate school application process. It also helped me reflect and realize that it's okay to ask for help, and it's okay to break down the help with specific professors and faculty members that can help me thrive in this application process. Because each of the faculty members, they all have their own set of strong skills, and they also have the schools that they went to and then the connections that they know. So breaking down the schools to each of these faculty members can be very helpful for me. And the last thing that I didn't mention here, but I wanted to mention it in person, or at least in video, reflecting on this work, reflecting on this assignment, and helps me reflect a lot on my personal life. I've had to experience a lot of hardships, a lot of inequalities, not just because of my gender, my race, my class, but it's just life has thrown a huge curveball to me. And it's been very difficult to kind of see the bright side of things when, there's been like hardship after hardship. But reflecting on this assignment, it just made me realize, like, it actually like took a moment to like sink in and realize after 7 years, I am graduating. This isn't a dream anymore. This is happening within days. And that's why I thought it was important for me to record this, because 7 years in comparison to a typical 4-year graduation, 4 years enrolled into undergraduate, like, I realized that all of the, sleepless nights, working odd jobs or dead end jobs, then none of them like broke me, no matter how much, people in my careers, like in my jobs in food service or just in customer service in general, where people would just say I'd be better off as a wife or my children. Why am I working there? I'm too pretty. Being stalked by cops because of my jobs that I used to be at, or stalked by people in general, having to deal with harassment from managers, and people kind of laughing at me or thinking I'm a know-it-all because I'm going to college, and knowing that they don't have the luxury to do so. I realize that all of those jobs aren't worth, they kind of brought learning lessons, painful ones. And it just made me realize that no matter what, I still didn't let those comments defeat me. Because even after 7 years of nonstop struggle, I still did it. And I'm about to do it, because today is 15th, and I graduate in 6 days. This isn't a dream anymore. I'm the first one in my family to graduate, the first woman. That's crazy. I feel nothing but blessed and privileged, and I feel like I earned it, definitely. At the end of the day, this was for my family, as it was very much so for me. So that's why I think it was very important for me to reflect and video record this, because I did it. Thank you.